Well, hello there. So we're doing a cowl in my coasting easy stitch, and here's what it looks like. It's quite a nice stitch. Looks like a little animal with little ears on each of the stitches. You can really see it on this orange one, and there it is on the green one. And can we see it on the purple one? Kinda, yeah. Very, very pretty stitch. Very fast, easy to do. Okay. Now the yarn I'm using is one that I spun on the spindle. So this is it, and I spun it into a roving. I didn't ply it or anything. So it is a bulky weight, and I am on a custom 1-inch adult size hat. Okay, so these pegs are custom to be 1 inch. So instead of a 3/4 inch, it's a 1 inch. So it's a little bit wider gauge. But of course you can use any gauge with a yarn that you like for the stitch. It looks good loose like this. It looks good tight. Okay. So I'm going to take you to a video of how to cast on, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to do the stitch. And we will see you in a bit. So I'm going to show you how to start this piece, and I'm going to show you the cast on and the first few rows before we start into the pattern. The yarn I'm using for this is Atlantis, Estelle Atlantis, and the color is Gleam, and it's a combination of yellows and creams and light taupe and copper and bronze and lots of those colors in it, and it's a bulky, and it's I guess it's pretty close to Charisma width to give you an idea of how big a bulky it is. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is a chain cast on. So what I do is I just make a slip knot, and any way you make a slip knot's fine. It just goes on the first peg like that, and we take the loom hook, put it inside the loop, and pick up a yarn, and so that we have a loop of yarn here. I'm just going to keep this tight over here, and then I'm going to come over behind the next peg, put the working yarn through, and snug it up. Behind, working yarn through, snug it up. Behind, whoop, behind, and we caught 2 pegs, snug it up. Behind, snug it up, and we just do that all the way around the loom. And that's a chain cast on. It's one of the crochet cast-ons. Works really good. You can use a crochet hook to do this if you want. I find it a lot easier just to do with my hands, but if you're in a very tiny gauge loom, you might really need a hook to get your fingers in between the pegs. This cast on can be used on any size of loom with the appropriate yarn for that gauge. I use this cast on with most of my pieces because I like the look of it. I do use other ones from time to time just because I think they go nicer with the work, but this one is nice. You don't have to worry about tightening any loops. It has a really nice appearance. And I just kind of do this weird thing when I do it because that helps me to get the right tension. But you can do it in one smooth motion too. Just the way I like to do the chain cast on. get some more yarn out of here. Okay. Whoop. Caught this in it. There we go. And then I just plop it on the last peg. And then you notice there's a space here. You could also pop it on there, but I find it makes this really thick here. So what I've started doing is just ending right here when I do this cast on, and then just knit it off. And then we're just going to come over here and knit this to secure it. And then what I do, because there's only one piece of yarn coming here and it's thicker in here, is I take this loop that I had left and put it over here, and then I just knit it over, and that makes it blend in better. At least that's what I think. And also this is partially secured already, so it will stay tighter and not loosen up on you now, which sometimes happens. Okay, so what we're going to do with this stitch, and I've already done one knit stitch here, is we're just going to do a row of U-knit. So a row of U-knit right after the cast on. This completes the cast on part of it. And a U-knit is just over the peg like that and knit it off. If you're doing this pattern, I'd be pretty sure you already know how to U-knit, but just in case. And it gives you one of the, well, the real knit stitches, really, since E-wrap is a twisted knit, and it's the same as knitting through the back loop and needle knitting. But these all give you the V stitch, which is the knit stitch. And this yarn has lots of nice color changes. I really like it. Oh, it's 50% wool and 50% acrylic. So really nice to work with, unless you're one of those people that's allergic to wool. But if you're not, it's beautiful to work with. It just glides on. And we must almost be back there. If it's not yet, we're almost back there. I was going to pause it if it was still a long ways, and I will do that on some of these rows just because it's going to really take up a lot of length in the video. Okay. Oop. This is loose because it's this one right here. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is a row of purl. So, just go down, pull a loop up and do that. I'll do it slower, but you should know how to purl. So we're just going to put this in just like the same way when we cast on. We came in through here. Now we're going to take this loop and pull it up just like we did with the cast on, except we're going to take everything off here and then just put the loop back on. You just put it right over like that. And that's all there is to a purl. So we're just going to purl all the way around. Just want to have a good strong non-curling base. And of course when we cast off we're going to do the same thing, do the same rows we did here so it matches. Okay, I'm going to put it on pause while I go around and do the purl. Okay, so I completed my row of purl. Okay, so once you've cast on, we'll go right into doing the stitch, and we're going to do a row of E-wrap. Okay, so what I do with E-wrap is I just do 3 at a time. and knit them over. That way you never get laddering. So you can use any technique that you like, but this is the technique that I use. Oop, this one's a bit tight. Okay, so I'm just going to do E-wrap all the way around the loom, so I'll meet you here when you finish the row. Okay, so I finished, almost finished. Do one more stitch here, and then we do the next row, which is owl eye. So I come from this last one where I E-wrapped and go over into a U-wrap. And then on the first peg, I always come back over and go over 1 and 2. Whatever peg I'm on is peg 1, I go over it 1 and 2. So we're on peg 1 and we go to 1 and 2. Okay, so we're just going to go all the way around the loom, and I will meet you up on the other side. Okay, so I'm almost to the end of the row. I'm doing owl eye, and row 3 is also owl eye, so I'm just going to keep going. Okay, so that's all you do. 2 rows of owl eye to 1 row of E-wrap. Okay, so that's the coasting easy stitch. Okay, so I just keep going around doing owl eye, and so I will meet you up again when I'm done this row. Okay, so now that I finished the row, now you know how to do it. It's 1 row of E-wrap to 2 rows of owl eye, and I'm ready to cast off. And I usually do a cast off that matches the cast on. And so whatever you did with the cast on, you do with the cast off. So you do the same rows of purl and whatever, but you do it in the same order. And then the cast off, I will have a link on my page of the cast off that matches this. But because this yarn is so fragile, I'm going to do my owl eye cast off. So how I do that when I'm on a project like this is I want it to be quite straight at the top. So what I'm going to do is a row of purl first, and then I'll do the owl eye bind off. So to do purl, you just go in here, pick up the loop, and put it over. But yeah, the owl eye bind off is very easy on fragile yarn. And as I'm a new spinner, I'm not sure my yarn is strong enough to take binding it off like that. Okay, so I'm going to do my row of purl, and then I'll show you how to do the owl eye bind off. But if you want to do the bind off that matches, it will be on my channel. Okay, so I will see you in a bit. Okay, so I've done a row of purl, which I always do a row of purl before I do the owl eye bind off. And the reason, of course, is because I've spun my own yarn here. I'm not sure how strong it is, and the owl eye bind off is much easier on fragile yarn, and it's a nice bind off that's nice and stretchy. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to go over in a U-wrap and knit it off. Okay, and then I'm going to go over in a U-wrap and knit it off again. And then I'm going to move the yarn like that and put it on this peg and tighten it up a little bit and knit it off. And then I'm going to come over in a U-wrap, come back over it in a U-wrap again, pick it up, and you can stretch it nice and easy, gentle on the yarn, tighten it up, snug it up a little bit, and then come over. Whoops, knit this one off first. Then come over and come over again in another U-wrap, and then take it and move it over, snug it up, knit it off, come over it in a U-wrap, come back over it in another U-wrap, and take it, move it over, snug it up a bit, knit it off. Okay, and then we can look at it as it's coming off, and there it is. It's a nice flat bind off. Okay, now come over and do the U-wrap, do another U-wrap, bring it over, knit it over, U-wrap, U-wrap, pick it up, bring it over, and snug it a bit, knit it off. And I think you know how to do it. You just keep doing that. So I'm going to work a little bit further along, and then we'll catch up as I get closer to the end. Okay, I've got a lot further around, so now you can take more of a look at how the bind off looks. And I guess it's a little harder to see with this other color winding on in here, but it is a nice flat bind off. It has a nice stretch, quite stretchy. So it's a stretchy bind off. Okay, and it's nice and straight because I did that row of purl. It sits up nice and straight. It's okay, sits up fairly straight without the purl, but with the purl you never have to worry. It will always be a really, really nice cast off. And I have a bind on that matches it the best. So I'll be showing that one to you. But I quite like it, and it's especially good for when you're using a yarn that you're worried about it being fragile or fraying or looking all ratty, because it's easy on it. I really like the way it's looking with the different color yarns I have. It's almost a lacy thing here. I think this one will be the top because this stitch looks good either way. I think that will be the top. And this one looks nice too, but this is with the chain. If I'd used the cast on that matches it, it would match better, but this still, because it's a cowl and that will sit at the base and this will be up here, you're never going to notice that. So it didn't really matter to me, but you can use the one that matches it if you want. No problem. So here's my loom hook, and I had just knit that over, so I had to come over it. I'm barely going to have enough yarn here for this cast off. Just going to make it, I think. Yarn chicken. And then I do the owl eye on one peg over it. I take it and I tighten it and I knit off. And the reason I call this the owl eye cast off is owl eye on one peg. You do the U-wrap. Come around from the back like a backwards E-wrap, but you come over and U-wrap over it again. Okay, and then I go on here, tighten it, come over in a U-wrap, come over in a U-wrap, move it over, knit it over, come over in a U-wrap, in a U-wrap. Okay, knit it off, and then 2 knits here. So it's almost like you're doing 3 knits in a way, because you're coming over, you're putting this here, knitting it off, coming over, and knitting it again. And knit it over, come over, over again, and over to the last peg. Done there, tighten it slightly, knit it over, come over. I'll come over my second time. Actually, I think just once. Let's see how that's going to be. Because I'm going to go under it again. That'll make the second knot. Because you've got to secure it. So I'm going to come under it. Like that. I had more yarn left than I thought. Normally you would cut this, but I don't have a whole lot of yarn left, so I'm not bothering. Be careful. That's yarn, it's wool, so it can felt itself as I go through. So tangle that. Get it to pull through. And I got to do it again because I got I got the yarn kind of felted there. So what I'm going to do is I should cut it, but I'm just going to try to put the whole thing through anyway. Well, especially because I don't know where my scissors is right now. There, now I made sure to get it through. Okay, and then what you're going to do is just weave your end in at the end here. And here we go. That's what it looks like. So I'll just weave this end in and we'll come back and stretch it out and take a look at it. So we'll see in a bit. Okay, so I have it all bound off and you can see that this is just as stretchy as this is. So it gives you a nice stretchy bind off so that both your ends would be the same, even if you did use it with the crochet chain cast on. But it's a nice flat cast on. I like it. So, or cast off. I like it. So I will be doing the video of the cast on so that they can match better for anybody who wants to use it and is using a fragile yarn or a yarn, or they just like this cast off better because it just has its own look and it's nice and stretchy. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video. But I guess we could take a bit more of a look at the stitch too. Really pretty stitch. It just has this really cute look. Okay, so until next time, bye.